Time is constantly unfolding. Will we create and evolve? We must innovate now so we can leave the world better than we found it.
Check it out.
I am your host, Sarab Mirmont, and welcome to Avant-Savant. Please welcome to the show, Mark Toia, director of the new film Monsters of Man. This episode is filled with so much good information, all the way from self-financing to self-distribution to tax incentives and everything in between. So buckle up and let's dive in.
Monsters of Man was originally a hobby, and like all hobbies, they tend to catch fire and then they turn into something a lot bigger. I was wondering if I could create a highly compelling feature film with high-end visual effects, great performances, huge production values that were more in line with a studio-backed film, but within a budget that was very ambitious. Was it going to be a great calling card for Hollywood? Would I make money from it? Was it even worth doing? So the only real way to find out was to just bank on myself, go and make it, and just see what happens. My aim from the very start was to try and think as big as I could, think smart, and put the dollars we had on the screen in front of the camera and not wasted behind it. We started by stripping down our production crew to a really efficient commando-style A-team. We then stripped down 4 red cameras to absolute minimum and went super lean, but without compromising our creative decisions. We also made huge savings of not building huge sets, not hiring studios, or shooting scenes on green screen and having to replace hundreds of backgrounds. We decided to shoot in the actual locations depicted in the script for real. So we ended up shooting in Cambodia for 90% of the film. And in doing so, we ended up with huge and amazing visuals that no way we could have afforded if we built sets this large or tried to recreate in post. And the savings in this area alone allowed me to think a lot bigger from a post-production perspective.
So talk to me about Cambodia. Had you traveled to the country before you decided to make this film there?
I went there earlier to do a bit of a recce for the film, actually. But I've been to all the other countries around Cambodia, but I never actually went to Cambodia. And I've worked in most countries around, all through Asia. But a friend of mine said you should just try and have a look at Cambodia because there's quite interesting things there. But they haven't really got a film community per se at a level that we require. So you might have to bring in the people that you need. So we thought, oh, well, not. And then I got introduced to a beautiful lady called Kulika Sato, and she's a local director there and producer. And we met up with her, and she was very passionate, dedicated person, beautiful person, actually. And then her husband, Nick Ray, he's also, I think, like producer, director himself, and he does a lot of locations for her or for the BBC, for a whole bunch of people that come into Cambodia. So he's a very well-versed guy. He's been living there for forever. So he dragged us around the whole of Cambodia, really looking for all of our location settings. So we had a really good look around there for a couple of weeks, and I literally went back and rewrote the movie a little bit to suit the locations we found. But what was most attractive was the cost side of shooting there compared to everywhere else, but also the locations were quite spectacular. The only problem was we had to literally bring in everything. But we did hire as many locals as we could, to help us move things around, lug things, a little bit of local art department and, things like that. But so we tried to still inject money into the community, but we did have to bring in all our gear and all that sort of stuff.
So what was that process like, bringing in the gear? Was it freight, or, how big was the production in Cambodia?
We pared the whole shoot right down so we didn't get stuck with a million boxes of gear. So we actually built all of our cameras, pre-built them in Australia, and we just kept them really small. So they're all reds. And instead of, making the typical giant drama camera with all the gap all over it, we just stripped them right down and turned them into little shoulder cameras or tripods or whatever. But we still had all of our audio points and everything, and our time lock boxes and everything that we did to sync all our cameras up, because we were shooting 4 cameras, sometimes 5. And we just made sure that what we went running into the bush with was simple. So we just had boxes of lenses. So every operator had their own box of lenses and everything, so no one needed to share any gear. And if you lost anything, we knew that it was yours.
Good accountability.
Yeah. And what we did is we tried to use as much of the land, the real Cambodia as possible without making anything.
What was your schedule like shooting there?
Look, I don't like doing overtime myself. I think it's a mentally taxing. It gets in the way of a lot of things if you don't get sleep and if you don't have enjoyment while you're doing it. So, we did get up at 6 a.m. and we did get home at 6 a.m. at 6 at night. So it was a 12-hour day, but really we're only working for 8 or 9 hours. Really, most of it was just travel between locations. And then we got home, and I always made sure there was a cold beer there for the actors.
Can you explain the philosophy behind multicam?
The philosophy is giving myself and the actors more creative time to experiment and to get what you need. The problem with a lot of film sets are if we only shoot 1 or 2 cameras and you've got so much to do per day, usually there's a big circus that takes up a majority of the time. Do you know what I mean? And it gives the director and the actors only a small amount of time to do what they need to do. I wanted to reverse that. So I wanted to have 80% given to me of, performance, actors shooting and getting what we needed, but at the best level we could, instead of having the crew have all the time to do what they wanted to do, I wanted all the time. So what we did is we made sure that we shrunk the circus down, so the circus that is behind the camera didn't consume most of the day. And shooting 4 cameras on a lot of dialogue, we didn't have to really worry about continuity. Like if someone was smoking a cigarette, we just knew there was 3 other cameras on the same scene. So, we could literally, if the actors were on point and the actors really know what they were doing and they got this real chemistry going throughout the thing, you would literally shoot that whole scene out in 1 take. But what I did, I sat out wide and did wide and mediums first, just for everyone to get into the flow. And then we went in tight and just picked up all of our tight shots again and just did a 2nd or 3rd take. And if people were missing lines or there was a bit of a fuck up, we might do a couple more. But the reality is we had so much coverage. So when we went into the edit, we just had, it's all there in layers, all time code sync. You literally just got the best performance and just fell down into the bottom of the timeline. Like it was literally layers falling down into the main timeline. And then it was literally editing itself. So, and if we had 3 or 4 takes, we would just literally grab a scene out of take 3 or something and drag it into take 1 or vice versa. But it made for very easy editing, and it made for no continuity issues. You had so many cutaway shots because, remember you got 4 cameras poking at a lot of reactions. So if you have a person shaking their head or taking a smoke of a cigarette, you could use that as a cut between dialogue or over the top of dialogue. You cut a whole, it just gives you so much more control in the edit suite. That's a lot of extra work in the edit suite, but you get more to polish with. You got more tools, more angles. You can't beat coverage, put it that way. Unless you're going into a movie going, I just want this to be a single shot movie, set the camera up nice and wide and just let the actors do their thing. I mean, that's what you can do as well. But I didn't want to. We had multiple cast and I wanted to keep the action moving. And even though there might not have been a lot of action in the room, a lot of cameras bouncing between characters creates that energy.
What was the casting process like? Did you cast local?
There was a young boy there and Kulika, his mother, and the father. He was the father of the village. So obviously everyone that's in there that's Cambodian is Cambodian. And they weren't experienced actors by any stretch. Actually, the mother was Marinette. She's a really beautiful actress. She's quite well known in Cambodia. She really knows how to. She's a very good actress, actually. But the young boy, Lee Tai, his name is. He just stunned us all. He was just incredible. He literally made us cry on a few scenes. And I had to cut early on a couple of them because I thought, man, am I affecting this kid's well-being? Is he stressed? And I'd go down to him and say, you okay? And he goes, yeah, is that good? And he goes, do you want me to do it again? And I'm like, oh my goodness. I thought the kid was traumatized, but he was literally acting. And then he'd race off and play soccer with his friends, and then he'd come back and do another take. But I couldn't believe how incredible this kid was. He completely blew me away, actually.
So what was the inspiration behind the story, and what made you want to do this one right now?
It's a bit more of a commercial experiment more than anything, because we sort of did the movie in a very non-traditional way. The way we shot it was non-traditional. We didn't have the circus. We didn't go do film funding. We didn't do pre-sales. We didn't do nothing. I literally paid for the film myself, my wife and I, and we just went and made it. And then we thought we'd come back, and then we've sold it non-traditionally as well. We've done a lot of direct distribution ourselves. We've sold the territories, ourselves, or with a partner that sort of does the deal, helps us with the deals. We've done all our aggregation, through aggregation companies ourselves. Again, through just a aggregator type things to pass it through, but everything passes through us. Every email, it's full transparency. The movie's doing really quite well. It's actually made half its money back in 30, 40 days, so it's doing good. And we haven't even started on our SVOD or our AVOD side of things yet. So I think over time the movie will make money over time and live happily ever after. So the experiment worked, but it's the only reason it's working because we are self-distributing it. We didn't give it away to a distributor to do their thing, because obviously they're a company as well and they need to make money, and they would have taken advantage of the situation, I'm sure. But doing it this way, it's a lot more work for us, but at least we're getting the dividends up front.
If somebody did want to self-distribute their own film, can you give a few pointers of what you did?
There's quite a few moons need to be aligned. And one is your film commercially viable? Do you know what I mean? That's the one you got to look at while you're even writing the script. If you're just going to do a soppy little drama or a little love story or something like that, that's something that's cheap to do, but there's no great production values. There's no name actors in there. It's just a beautiful well-told story on film, even though it might be a work of art and beautiful acting and it's a gorgeous script. The reality is the commercial side of that movie, there's not a big market for that. And if you're going to make it a bigger market, you got to put a name actor in there to bring up that film's presence. But you still got to try and keep the cost down with this big actor in it. So the big actor might cost you $1 million to put him in there for your little $500,000 movie. And the thing is, that actor's really got to believe in that film and that director and all that sort of stuff. That's the only way you're going to get to a little $1 million movie to be sold, because there is a big actor in your film. But if you're trying to sell your movie to the world, and it is quite simple, film, a drama, and it doesn't matter how amazing it is, it's very tough to get it sold, to territories and all that, and it's very hard to sell on the platforms because there's nothing big and flary about it. There's your trailer might not be strong enough. There's all that sort of stuff. But I think where a lot of filmmakers fail as well is most don't market their film. They put all their money and all their energy into their little movie, or like what we did, I suppose. But we had a huge marketing campaign designed to drive it, and our movie got pushed out everywhere. The trailer was viewed by up to 50 million people around the world. And we paid for a lot of that marketing. A lot of it was organic. I've done a lot of podcasts like with yourself, like people like yourself, and everywhere. I mean, I'm all podcasted out almost.
Thanks a lot for doing this.
I feel like, oh, geez, did I say that before? Have I said that now? But the reality is there's a big machine there that has to drive this thing out into the world, because there's so much noise out there, like digital noise, and there's so much content out there. How do you break loose? So even though 50 million odd people saw our trailer, our conversion rate's been only, for people to rent it, is only been like 0.007%. So even though, it's just in the last month or so, it's made, probably $500,000-$600,000, or I don't know, something like that. Haven't really looked at the exact numbers just yet. But even though you think, well, that's great, but you got to remember there's been a marketing push behind that. It's been pretty solid, like better than most movies. Like we were on certain YouTube sites, we were getting more views, more watches or more views than Superman and some of these Marvel films, which was incredible, right? Because they are a big giant franchise. So our little movie out of nowhere was very visible. And that's how we managed to get our rentals, and our purchasing of our film done just in the first stage, which is the transactional video on demand phase of our sales thing. And what that does then, I've used that TVOD stage, that's the Apple TV, the Amazon, In-Demand, Fandango, Vudu, all those platforms. I'm literally using them almost like a TV commercial, like an ad for SVOD. So when the SVOD guys come knocking, which they are now, then, we can hopefully pump up the numbers when they want to buy or rent out the movie off us for a few years. And we can't really do exclusive deals with them because they don't want to offer hardly anything anymore, right? SVODs have technically devalued movies for the world. Like people don't want to pay for movies anymore. So a movie now is worth nothing to anyone. They all want to watch it for free. And that's why the AVOD side of sales, which is advertising video on demand, like Tubi and YouTube and all that, where people just want to watch the movie for free and advertisers splash their ads within your movie, that's where the money is now for a filmmaker. And, like Netflix, for instance, they might come and rent your movie off you for 300 grand, 500 million, depends who's in it and what they want to do with it. But the reality is they still probably won't pay you straight up. They'll take 2 to 3, 4 years to pay you in installments. So the Netflix deals aren't really that good for filmmakers that have got content. So the AVOD side of this of the world is probably the future of where it's going, and that's purely because content has been so devalued, consumers don't think it's worth anything anymore. They don't want to pay $2 or $5 to rent anymore. They go, I'll just watch it for free. We'll either steal it or watch it on Tubi for free and buy some little plug-in that'll kill all these commercials, which is, but that's the future of movies. And you just got to go, well, you really got to think the long game. If I'm going to make a film, is it commercial enough? Am I going to have a good marketing campaign behind it to push it? Should I put money aside for a star or a name actor to help generate some sort of buzz about it? Do I do what Mark did was TVOD, SVOD, and AVOD, or do I just go straight to AVOD? Because where is the dollars coming from? Is theatrical worth it? Theatrical is worth it for everyone but you, sadly. You can give it through a theatrical distributor, and that movie might make $1 million, but the chances of you making anything from that $1 million that you might have made in the cinema or grossed in the cinema, the odds of you getting anything from that is very little. It's very small. You might get a small percentage because, you got to remember they're going to say that, their distributors paid money for advertising. The cinema owners are going to take 50%, probably. The distributor's going to take 30%. There's a whole bunch of hands in there well before the filmmaker gets their little bit. So a theatrical is sort of a bit of a dead duck for filmmakers. It's sort of like, well, if I'm not going to get paid from theatrical, why even worry about it? And people go, because it's like an ad for your movie. But the problem is all these people have seen your movie, and then when you try to sell it on all these TVOD or SVOD or AVOD platforms, people have already seen it, but you haven't made any money from it. So it's almost like dodge theatrical altogether and just go straight to AVOD or do your TVOD, SVOD, AVOD, but it's quite the process. And, try and do your little TV deals and all that sort of stuff and your DVDs, like Redbox will probably still do your DVDs they'll probably give you 50, 100 grand for it or whatever, but there's a whole bunch of little things that you have to do all the way down the chain. You don't just get your money back. If you don't market your film as equally as hard as you made that film, then your film will go through completely unnoticed. No one will buy it because no one knows it exists.
How much do you think a filmmaker should set aside? What percentage of their budget for marketing?
I we've allocated 10% for our film, and we haven't spent that yet because we're literally going to probably push really hard when it hits AVOD. Because at the moment our TVOD has done really well. We've had a great organic sort of push, luckily, and we didn't have to spend that much money. But when we get to AVOD, I really want to smash the marketing of the movie again and really get it out there.
Have you thought about merchandising at all?
Yeah, but that's another machine in itself. Do you know what I mean? Because once you start making things like your T-shirts and stuff like that, which we've done, you could do print on demand, and you could push all you want there, and you make money from it. But it's not like I'm not Disney. I'm just the little guy in Australia that's made a robot movie. So you need someone to jump on board and go, hey, we really love your whole movie. Can we make robots for you and put them in all the Walmarts? You know what I mean?
Is that something you designed, the robots?
Yeah, I did it with a Russian guy, Edwin, his name is, out of Russia.
So it was a remote relationship.
Yeah, most of the post was. We did all the post-production through Frame.io, and we sort of set up a virtual post house in Frame.io. So literally everything came back to my phone, and I literally was approving shots and doing things on my phone, on my iPad, on my laptop. But all of our artists were scattered around the world, and a few here locally as well. But everything, we literally built a freelance post house within Frame.io, and I never met a single one of them. So,
it's incredible.
But what I made sure we did, we paid everyone straight away.
Right on.
So they set their fee. We got them to do a test to see if they were capable on a shot or a couple of shots or 2 or 3 shots, and go, we just want to see how fast you are, how good you are, the quality and all that sort of stuff. Once we knew that they're up to speed, we would pay. If we used that shot, we would pay for that shot as well. And if they weren't fast enough or they weren't good enough, we wouldn't keep employing them. But if they were great, we'd just throw a whole bunch of shots at them and go, fucking do those ones. All the finishing got done here in Australia between myself and a guy called Ray Ortigue, and I did a lot of compositing, and he did a lot of compositing and lighting, but we did the whole finishing of the film ourselves.
Red Cameras, you seem to have quite the relationship. Do you have like a sponsorship with them?
No, I don't. Red have been good at. Look, I'd be good to them; they'd be good to me, right? And so we've got a good relationship where if I need more cameras, they'll help me get them quicker, rather than be in queues and stuff like that. If there's a new camera coming out, yes, I'll be up the front end to test or try that camera for them. They know I push cameras pretty hard. I'm very fussy with everything. I do a lot of the post, obviously, my in-house. I push the red files way past probably what they're designed for. I give a lot of good feedback back to them, and they help me in return by making sure I get looked after if I've got repair problems. They send me extra cameras if I need them. Just things like that, just to keep working. But I have to make sure that I give them great information and good PR as well. You know what I mean? So that, I wouldn't say it's a sponsorship per se, but it's a damn good relationship. And like I said, it's a scratch my back, scratch their back type of thing, and I'm quite happy with that relationship. And and they know I've tried. I tried all the other cameras as well, because I don't want to be locked into just one camera system. Like like for Sony, for instance, I'm a bit of a fan of Sony as well, and I could see that they are really leaping forward with a lot of their stuff. And see, they go, well, you got to look at the benefits from each camera. What suits you as a filmmaker? And at the moment, I'm really enjoying having 17, 18 stops of dynamic range and able to shoot, 60, 100 frames in 8K. So, because I do a lot of resizing of frames, and I do a lot of deep grading and HDR, the resolution for me works amazingly, and so does the raw file. Just gives me lots of room to move. The Sony...
the Alta?
What's that?
Is it the Sony?
Yeah, the Alta, that's right. Sony Ultra. So that to me it's got fantastic color science if you're just going to use the images straight out of the box. But the reality is everything that we do in red, we grade. Everything that goes out of Sony, we grade. Everything that we shoot in ARRI, we grade. So you end up in your own world anyway. So that whole color science thing to me is like nor here nor there. But the dynamic range of red is what keeps me there. You know, it's and the versatility of that red file. So I edit everything in 8K RAW real time because I've got a big Apple Mac Pro, the new one. It's all specced out, but I can literally just drop my 8K file straight in the edit suite, start timing, grading, editing, grading, doing everything with it without any issues at all in 8K HDR. So it's red suits what I do at the moment until someone comes out and gives me more dynamic range and more resolution. Then I'll probably jump over to that company. So, and Red know that, they know I'm not loyal to them as people. I'm loyal to their technology and what they deliver. At the moment, they've got a great thing going on. So I'll stick there for now.
Is directing something you've been doing from the very beginning? Did you start out EPing, or what was your transition into directing?
Yeah, I was a photographer in my early days, and one of my clients said, "Can you do a TV commercial for us? Or do you know how to make TV commercials?" And I lied and said, "Yeah, I can do them." But I didn't have a clue how to make them. And I said I jumped in the deep end and started mucking around, and we edited, shot this ad, edited, through a bunch of other people helping me. And I ended up winning Best Cinematographer and Best Director for this video and in this advertising awards. And then the whole town that, I live in here in Brisbane, they all go, "Well, hang on, we thought you were a photographer. So you make ads as well?" And I go, "Well, yeah, it looks like I do now." And then all this work just come pouring onto us. And then, 25 years later, I'm sitting here talking to you.
Did you know what you wanted to be when you were a child?
No. Just living like any kid. So I think it takes time before you find your path. And I didn't really find my path and what I wanted to do until I was in my mid-20s. And I went, that's really fun. I like doing that. And it was a hobby too at the time. So again, hobby gone crazy. It's the same as this movie. The movie was really a hobby. And now that's gaining traction. We've got a lot of companies around the world wanting me to direct their movies now, and there's a lot of craziness going on in the background.
That's fantastic. So, what is your next project? Have you got something?
Well, there's several. We've got about 30 plus, maybe 40 scripts have come in from other people's films. And they're all ranging from like $150 million down to $5 million. And I think the thing is, too, a lot of the really good scripts are actually the lower budget ones. But I think that's the new world, because since COVID happened, everything's changed. The whole, movie making business, like I said, it's all devalued now. What's your movie really worth? You know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of people in the film industry are just working for wages now. There's no such thing as anyone making great money from movies anymore. So I just got to decide whether I jump on one of these films and just get a director's fee, or do I keep making my own, or do I do both? Or I just keep doing TV commercials. I got a few different angles there I can look at. But I have no idea. I'm sort of, what have I got next? There's 2 or 3 movies I can't really talk about at the moment that are very keen to have me on board. But it's up to them. It's not my production, so I can't push it any faster for them. They're spinning plates. I'm just one little cog in the big wheel of making a film.
Do you have any closing words or words of advice for youthful individuals who want to do what you're doing?
Yeah. Think a lot further or a lot more than just your movie. Think about the whole business side of your film. Don't just think about your script, and don't just think about making that movie and how much fun it's going to be. Think about the pain afterwards of selling it, because selling your movie to the world is actually 10 times harder than making the movie. So you've got to put a lot of energy into that whole mechanism. Now, whether you pre-sell it before you make it, you know, you want to try and give people's money back. You know, if there's investors that are going to put money into your film, you want to make sure that, you know, you do your best for them to get a return on their investment, or at least get their money back. You don't want to be walking the streets, you know, for the rest of your life, looking over your shoulder, thinking that the dentist down the road that put in $50,000 into your film, never going to see his 50 grand back. Don't promise the world. You know, be honest, be truthful with everyone around you. Have fun, but yeah, think about the whole game from start to finish, not just the film. Making the film is the easy bit. Actually, finding money for the film is sometimes the easy bit. Selling the film is a whole different planet, and that's the bit that'll crush your soul if you don't do it properly.
Well, you know, more so I hear about the souls getting crushed when it comes to film distribution. So avoiding those pitfalls and kind of the new way of distribution that you're talking about, which is kind of showing your film for free with advertising.
Yeah, look, I like I said, because content is so devalued now, because it's not worth anything. Like, people are happy to pay $50 for a tuitional video that took some person a week to make, but they don't want to pay a single cent for $100 million movie. Do you know what I mean? Right. That's because movies are worth nothing to the consumer now. They just want to watch it for free, or want to watch it for $14 a month with 50 other movies. You know what I mean? It's movies are not worth anything anymore. So you just got to figure out, how are they worth something? How can you get something for your film? And that's the problem with movies at the moment. They are too easy to make, too easy to buy, too easy to sell, too easy to watch. And they're just, yeah, it's sadly, I think even I came in, I've done a good job of my film. We've done, you know, we're making money from our movie, but I'm breaking so many rules, or I'm you know, I'm going up so many new roads to make that happen. You know what I mean? I'm really pushing hard to make that happen. But if you do that yourself, you just got to make sure you do that yourself, but make sure you got to make a commercial movie. You know, what people go, why did you do a robot movie? I'll go, because it's going to look great on the trailer, right? Totally. Explosions, killing people, you name it. It's all in there. It's a big action movie. So the thing is, I just knew if I did a little drama or a little horror movie or whatever, my chances of getting my money back on that film would have been a lot less. So I've had to put a lot of energy into all parts of the sale and creation of that film.
Performances are really good in film. Can you talk about directing the actors a little bit, or what your methods are in that?
That comes down to casting, right? Casting is so important, because a good actor will bring it to the table. They will bring their A game there, because their agenda is simple, right? They are actors, so they want to put all that performance on the screen. For myself, with these actors, it's actually about me making sure that their performances is not over the top or too low, or, you know, I've got to balance them to make sure they fit from scene to scene to scene. You can't have them, for instance, you can't have them falling apart in scene 154, but they seem to be okay in scene 168. You know what I mean? There's a state of emotional, there's a level of emotional state that they have to be that flows throughout the movie. So it's about you monitoring or managing that level of emotion throughout. The actor, you know, once you tell them where they need to fit, you explain where they need to fit in that scene at that time, they know where they're going and what's happening around them, because that's their job as an actor, right? So you cast well, you get people that are like theatrically trained, or they've done films before, a lot of short films. Even if they're newbies, it's about just getting them, and you got them. They've got to trust you, and you've got to trust them. If you don't have a good relationship with the actors, that's when the wheels start falling off. If they don't trust you, if they've got an ego the size of China, don't hire them. Do you know what I mean? If you know they're going to be a handful, and you go, oh no, I'll make them my friend halfway through. The odds are as a personality, they're not going to change for you on set. Do you know what I mean? They might just turn up and just with all this baggage, and they'll make that baggage even heavier by the end. So it's about making sure that you hire actors that are like passionate about the project as you are. Try and shoot the movie in the order of the film if you can, because that helps you, the filmmaker, the director, and the actors to know that fluidity of that script and what they've just done. You know, it's sometimes it's hard because some people are shooting like page 2 and then they race over to page 97, then they go and shoot page 42. It's a very hard way of making a film and very compromising from a creative point of view. You know, it might be more expensive to shoot it in a linear form, but it's going to be better for the movie to do so as much as you can.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it's it all comes down to the original casting. So when I spoke with the actors that we shortlisted, I spoke to a whole bunch of actors that we shortlisted, and I wasn't really checking to see if they knew their lines or anything like that, because you could see by their self-tapes that they were in control of themselves, and you could see what they were trying to put forward. When I spoke to them, it was all about their personalities. I was doing more of a psychological check on them to see if they were like social retards, or they were arseholes, or beautiful people, or soft, or hard, or focused, or they talk too much, or whatever. I just needed to know their personalities before I decided if they were in the film. Because the last thing you need is a crazy person in your movie while you're trying to direct them, because they literally will create a cancerous decay of the rest of the movie, the rest of the set. Do you know what I mean? And because they think it all revolves around them, where it doesn't. It revolves around the whole movie. Everyone revolves around everyone in a movie set, right? You know, we've all got our jobs. Some jobs are bigger than others. Like mine is to really try and, as a director and the producer, I've got to try and make sure everything stays in a good order. You don't want the wheels to fall off something, because if something breaks over there, or a person hemorrhages over there, or there's a chaos going over there, or there's an actor going nuts over there, the whole machine just slides and grinds to a halt. So, you know, it's your job as a director to maintain a very good, healthy set all the way through that shoot. You know, so and then you get good results from everyone. You know, and that's why I don't push people into overtime. That's why I don't want to overwork people. You know, once you start putting stress on people, things break. So don't stress people out.
A lot of films, they die in distribution, and some of them die in post-production. Can you talk about, having the multiple cameras obviously helps, but can you talk about your post workflow and how you ensure the film gets finished?
The film is going to always get finished, because all you need is money, right? Money and time. So post-production, like I said, I've been doing ads for 25 years or more, so we know every trick in the book when it comes to post-production. And our workflows internally here are very fast. We don't muck around with slow programs or slow anything. We've figured out how to create content quickly, overnight, at a high-end quality, very, very quickly. We've got post partners, like 3D artists and 2D artists, compositors and animators and rotoscopers and cleanup guys scattered all over the world that we used all the time. So for us to do this movie with time on our hands, because I had no rush to sell this thing. It was a hobby, right? So I could pick the eyes out of everyone around the world. They're all happy to work for me because I pay. I don't screw them. If they're fast and they're really good at their job, I'll pay them what they want. You know what I mean? It's no good haggling an artist. Once you start haggling them and you're pushing them and you're screwing them, they don't give you the quality of job that you want or you need. So you just got to make sure if they put a number on the table and you go, okay, or you go, sorry, I can't afford you, go out and find another one. But I seldom get into a place where I'm haggling artists. You know, it's up to them to tell me what they need, and it's up to me to say if I can afford them or not. But I don't like haggling. It's just not a thing I like to do. So with doing that, it's you know, our edit was easy because we transcoded the whole movie into just ProRes 42 HD. We edited everything literally in my laptop because I was away so much or overseas. I was going to get an editor to edit the movie, and then I decided, because I broke my collarbone when I was skiing, and I thought, well, I'm injured now. Not my collarbone. I did a muscle. I broke some ribs. I can't remember what it was now. But I thought I'll get into the edit myself. And once I started editing, I went, I'll finish the whole thing off. So I ended up editing the whole film myself in my spare time on aeroplanes and hotel rooms, you know, here at home, just wherever I could. Once I got it into a good enough state that I was happy with, then we, with my my special effects supervisor, we just started exporting all the shots out, you know, and sent them off to all the artists, you know, for animation and cleanup and all that sort of stuff. And when they came back through Frame.io, we literally just dragged them out of Frame.io and dropped them straight in the timeline. Done, finished. And it was as simple as that. It was quite an easy process. Everyone got paid quickly. There was no mucking around. And we literally did $2 or $3 million worth of post work for $500,000 by working that way. Because I'm not one of those directors that sit there on a shot and change it 100 different times. You know what I mean? Like, I've got friends that do a lot of Marvel movies, and they'll have up to 100 changes on a shot. You know, and they'll be working on that shot for months and months and months. One shot. See, I didn't want to do that. I wanted people to be only working on my shot for a day. It's out, because it is. It's only a robot walking around in the forest. It's not like it's not like we were creating huge matte paint and blue screen scenes. You know what I mean? And even if we did, I still want to keep that down. You know, squeezed down quite to a small amount of time. I didn't want to drag the process out, because that, when you drag it out, it costs a fortune.
Were they all the same model red cameras?
No, we had 3 or 4 dragons, 6K dragons at the time, and we had a prototype helium, one of the red heliums, first red heliums. Yeah, you know, because the 6K dragons were limited, like, because the noise floor was obviously a lot less than the helium. Color was similar. The helium had more dynamic range. So what you had to do, you had to sort of probably pull the 8K helium down to the 6Ks. You couldn't take the 6Ks up to the 8K helium. So, but, you know, from a color point of view, you can't tell the difference. So when we got into the dark scenes, like into the caves and all that, we obviously ended up, you know, the 6K dragon started not handling that low light so well, but the 8K helium did it easily. So there's a couple of scenes in there in this really cool spot, which I didn't want to overlight. So we end up shooting this whole scene out with one camera, which took forever. Most times we were using 4 cameras, you just shoot a whole scene out in a minute or two. But, you know, one camera, you like shoot that, and then you've got to come back around and shoot this angle, then come back around and shoot that angle. And, oh, fuck, it just drove me nuts. I don't know how people shoot a movie with 1 or 2 cameras. It's a very slow process. Yeah.
Where can people see your film? Is there anywhere you prefer?
Well, the prefer one is if you buy it on Vimeo on demand, I get more money. So yeah, buy it on Vimeo on demand. Just type in, you know, Monsters of Man into Vimeo, or Vimeo on demand, and you'll get it. But because their split is 90-10, 90% to the filmmaker, 10% to Vimeo. But, you know, if you just want to watch it on Apple TV, it's fine, or Amazon, or Fandango, or Vudu, or InDemand, or, I mean, there's heaps of them out there. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not like you can't not find it. It's very visible. YouTube movies, Google Play.
So you said you used an aggregate to get onto those platforms. Is that like a third party that independent filmmakers can sign up with?
Sadly, yes. Yeah, and they don't charge much, and they take very little. But you know, like the Apples of the world and all those companies, they just want to go through an aggregator, and I don't know why. It's just a bit of paperwork, a bit of metadata, send the final file into them. You know it's all QC. It's a stupid thing that they do, but that's what they do, and that's what they ask for. And there's no need for it.
Is there a name that you can drop on us on what one of these services is?
You can use Bitmax, Bitmax, right? They're an aggregator. We went through this company, High Octane, which is aggregating for us, and who have been great. It's look. I don't. End of the day, an aggregator is like they're just they don't need to be there in this modern day, right? They just somehow made themselves a gatekeeper. And honestly, you don't need to. Like if you go to Vimeo in demand from like Vimeo on demand, you can load up to 60 countries, your whole movie, audio finished, your posters, your thumbnails, your descriptions, your price setting, everything. You can do it all in under 20 minutes yourself. And it's beautiful 4K mastered, amazing, beautiful finished film. Why do we need aggregators to get onto Apple?
You're absolutely right when you put it that way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Vimeo in demand is actually the best place to put and load up a movie. It's the most transparent. Every time someone buys or rents your movie, you get an email sent to you. It's like so amazing. It's an amazing film. But no one knows Vimeo on demand exists. So it's Vimeo on demand. I've got the best platform in the world to watch a movie. But they haven't got proper apps for TVs. They haven't got a few things, and no one really knows Vimeo on demand exists. But as for an independent filmmaker, they are like amazing. But they've just, as a company, Vimeo, they are completely shit at marketing that proposition they've got, that product. They are useless.
So really just
the best product. Best product with the worst back end, the worst marketing behind it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just comes down to the filmmaker then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you to drive people to the Vimeo on demand site. But at the end of the day, it's I wish everyone else was like Vimeo on demand. I wish they had a portal like that where you can put it into a streaming part of that yourself. You can put it into, and if it's shit, like put it this way, if you don't get much views or it doesn't get used much, if it doesn't hit certain parameters because it's a piece of crap, then it gets chucked off the platform if the platform gets too huge. It's I don't know how it should work, but end of the day, it's it's a fantastic thing for the film, for an indie filmmaker. The consumer has no idea it exists, so that's why it's completely useless.
Right. Yeah.
It's fantastically useless.
There's probably so many products like that nobody knows about.
A
little bit about producing. Why don't we just chat that real quick? Shooting in Cambodia, filming at some of those temples, which I've got various friends who have filmed there, and one of them had to pay $2 to film, I think, at Angkor Wat. He didn't tell me the exact number, but it sounded like some sort of a buy-off because they wanted to shut it down for the day. And I don't know what kind of a deal exactly they came up with, but what was your experience producing the film down there? You have to make deals with the government?
Yeah, you've got to have the right person on the ground to get certain locations. And the government is, and over there is not, they could be far more helpful to, because if they had movies more shot in that region, in Cambodia, in around the temples and all that sort of stuff, that would entice so much more tourism, because as filmmakers, we can make Angkor Wat look incredible, right? Now, we were going to shoot at Angkor Wat, in a certain part of Angkor Wat, in a quiet temple that's just literally right next to the main temple. We would have been out of the way. We would have been nowhere near. We wouldn't have stopped any tourism. It would have been the perfect place for us to shoot. But all of a sudden, the location fee went from $2,000 to $20,000 overnight.
Right.
So I just went cut, and we found another temple right out about an hour or two away, in the middle of nowhere, in the back of some rice paddies, and we shot the temple scenes there, for a lot less. But the reality is that, there's a bit of greed, obviously, in areas, and people think that you're a big movie, but we weren't. They just thought we were doing a big movie, but we're not doing a big movie. We're just doing a small indie film. So they made it unaffordable. So all of a sudden, I come home and I go, hey, people go, hey, what was it like to shoot in Angkor Wat? And I go, well, you can't, because you're just going to get ripped off. So that means that less people want to go there, less it gets less seen in mainstream TV because people make it hard to shoot there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It's just greed is getting in the way of what they should be using the place like. Like for New York, for instance, you can go and shoot in New York with a small crew for free. There's no permits, no nothing. If you can keep your crew down to 5 or 6 people on the street, you can go and shoot for nothing. And we did. We shot in New York with 5 people on Brooklyn Bridge. Now, but if you went and wanted to shut down Brooklyn Bridge with 100 people running all over it, then it's a different story, right? But you're allowed to, if you just think smart. But again, to shoot in New York isn't expensive. The permits cost nothing, $100, $200, whatever. They're not much to get street permits to shoot in the street. And Angkor Wat should be the same, because New York knows. Look how many movies there are with New York in it. It's like New York is famous because of all the movies that have depicted it to be awesome, right?
Right.
The same could happen with Angkor Wat. All they need to do is just let the film crews in. Don't touch it. Don't destroy it. Don't fuck around with Angkor Wat. Be careful. Preserve the historic nature of that film, but film it. Make it look awesome. Like we used it. We climbed, in and around it. This little temple. We didn't break anything. No one even knows we were there. We took all our rubbish with us. We were done. Do you know what I mean? We left it the same way we got there. So it's anyways, but that's the way Cambodia is at the moment. You just got to make sure you got the right person on the ground, and that's where Kulika and Nick Ray, if you want to reach out to those guys in Jakarta, they'll help you get these things in place, and they'll help you get all the crews in and all your gear in, and they do a great job. All the camera assistants and stuff. And most of like caterers and drivers and all that all came from Cambodia, and the set guy, like the art department and stuff. But we just used local guys for that, and we didn't run any lighting in the movie and any grips, so we had no gaffers and no grips in our movie.
That's fantastic. Makes it a lot faster.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I did want them, but it was just too unaffordable. And I thought, well, I could probably shoot the movie without them. But I do wish I had a grip, per se, just to help us create or move some gear pretty quickly. But reality is we got the movie done quite well and quite easily without them. But it would have been nice to have them on set. But you got to think of the cost of everything, right? Don't put people in there if they don't need to be there.
The robots, you kind of dress them up in those little suits. Can you discuss how you did those interactions?
No, look, I put him in suits for 2 reasons. Obviously, so we can track so the animators can track his motion, but really so the actors could have something to look at and to communicate with, and for the camera guys to focus on something. It's just really, and that's why we sort of made the robots a little bit more human-like. I'm not human, but the same sort of body as a human, so we could track them and animate off them pretty easily. And the little suits, it didn't matter what they wore, whether it was grey, red, whatever. But we found these cheap little suits. They're only like $30, and because they got dirty so quick and they ripped, we just kept put on a new one. But we just had these little wristbands and stuff with little zeros and just black and white dots all over it. But the black and white dots weren't really from a tracking perspective. They were more for us to understand what light was doing. How when the sunlight hit it, we could see what the white looked like and what the black looked like. So when we were grading the robot into the scene, we would use those black and white dots primarily to see what grain structure looked like, what the white balance was like, what the black, what colors are in the blacks, and we would match the robot with those dots that were on all over the robot, all over the actor. And the blue suit, it was like it didn't mean nothing because we had to paint the whole person out anyway. What the good thing about the suit, I suppose, it just kept in shirts from flying around and things like that, just so the animator could see the form of the body a bit better, you know what I mean?
Awesome. Well, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate it.
And you too, man.
Yeah,
Whereabouts are you living?
I'm in Salt Lake City.
Oh, Utah's beautiful. There's amazing places around there.
You can make a movie here and make it look like Mars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, easy. I'm surprised there isn't a lot of movie making going on there. Probably because they haven't got that big tax offset, I suppose. Producers, that's how they make their wages, right? They get the movie made and all that, and they take that 25-30% at the end, and that's their fee. So they can make a $10 million movie, they take $3 million home. Thank you very much. They don't care if that movie makes money or not, mate. They've just been paid, right? I don't know how taxpayer-funded movies are legal, but for some reason they think it's a good thing. So you just paid 30% of your of taxes went to that film.
In Australia, there's no incentives?
No, we got the same here. And again, that's how producers make their money, right? They make a movie here for $100 million. Like Jerry Bruckheimer brings over $100 million movie. He will put 30% of that Australian incentive in his pocket and go home. He won't inject that into the economy. He's just got a big check. Thank you very much. I'm out of here. That's the only reason the movies have been made here, man. Those very clever producers know how to make money, even if the movie's a dog. Even if the movie makes 1 cent, they will still pick up that 30-40% offset.
Wow.
It's there, and the government are giving it out, and someone might as well take it. But there's a lot of people here in this country that go, hang on, how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you giving this American producer 30 or 40% to take home with him? Why aren't you giving? Just say it's a $100 million film, right? So it's $30 million is literally given to that producer, and off he goes. So why isn't that $30 or $40 million given to 15 filmmakers in Australia to go and make a $2 or $3 million film?
Yeah, well, it should be.
It should be. All right, but they don't. They give it to someone offshore and and the money goes out the door. So it's there's arguments for both, but I think they should support the local film industry before they start supporting the outside film industry. Because if you go, well, here's a $3 million to go and make a movie, Mark, we're going to spend every last cent of it here in Australia. We're not going to take 30 or 40% out and take it and ship it offshore. You know what I mean? So it's going to come back in, the profit from that movie or whatever we're going to do is going to come back into our doors here, and we're going to spend our profits locally through, just through our living. So it's cycling through the current system. It doesn't just get taken offshore. So anyway, the government think they're very clever.
That's a problem here too in Utah. A lot of the independent, smaller films, anything $1 million to $3 million, doesn't really get the incentive because they always give it to the huge Disney productions or like Yellowstone, and they run out. Yeah, and then the little guys get nothing. Yeah, because there's a bit of fanfare. Oh, we had a Disney movie here, right? And because there's heaps of Disney movies going on right now. Marvel things down the road, and it's they're only here grabbing that incentive. They're getting a big 30, 40%. The Australian dollar's weak. It's only 75 cents to the dollar, American dollar. It's just a 40% plus 25%. It's like a big, big cash cow savings. You know what I mean? It's like, why wouldn't you shoot here? You're nuts if you don't shoot here. Yeah. And there you have it, my interview with director Mark Toia from the feature film Monsters of Man. If you like this episode, please show the love by hitting the like button or subscribe button and leaving a review. And if you don't like it, hit the like button twice. Thank you so much for listening to Avant-Savant. We will see you next week.